Good morning and welcome to the Big Football Show. I am your host, BA. I have with me Keith Ingle, James Martin, and Jack Hirsch. It is the 14th of December. I hope everybody's doing good this morning. We're getting into college and pro football. Yesterday, of course, was the Army-Navy game, a traditional Army-Navy game. Navy came back at the end and won 17-16. Our Army came out swinging. They came out swinging. They were like, we ain't doing this year, folks. But mistakes late in the game cost Army. Navy picked up their defense in the end. Really good game, though. And really the quarterback battle wasn't too bad either. Although Horvath, in my opinion, he played a really bad game. He had a couple of fumbles, a bad interception. He didn't play very well. But they got it done at the end, and kudos to Navy. Go Navy.
You know, there is interest in this game still. I know I've had people ask me there's still as much interest in this game as ever, and I think there is. It's kind of losing its status. It used to be the only game played that day. There was another bowl game last night that probably nobody watched because it's the last game. It's the last LA Bowl that'll ever be played, and you looked at the stands, you can tell why. But there's a lot of interest in this game. I had some people at my house who do not watch college football, but they were like, "Oh, great, you got the Army-Navy game on."
They didn't have any competition, Keith, football-wise. It was either Army-Navy or watch college basketball. They had a whole bunch of college basketball games on the two.
Jack, and it's going to go away. The NCAA or the networks, I guess, more so, have always given Army-Navy this platform for themselves year after year after year for decades. And that's going to go away. And that's one of the sad things about the state of college football. If this game, the game will still be played, but it's not going to have the same spotlight on it. And you saw yesterday, it's the only game we see true amateurs playing anymore. Those kids are out there playing for the love of football and nothing else, because none of them, I mean, there's a handful of guys here and there that have gone to the pros, but they're playing for nothing else other than the love of football. And it's fun to watch, whether it's a low-scoring game or once in a while we get a high-scoring game. There's a lot of defense, a lot of passion on the field. Navy didn't play well, but they converted in big spots. They had a couple great bounces go their way on fumbles. We were talking about Horvath. He had a couple of fumbles that he was fortunate enough to he picked back up himself at the end of the game. That was huge. But I think it was a great game, a lot of fun, and I think it's still a national tradition that deserves the spotlight that it still seems to have.
Just one quick suggestion, but to be on the big platform, why not put the Army-Navy game on the week before the Super Bowl? It's a 2-week lull. Nothing's ever going on the week before the Super Bowl. Let it be a spotlight game for them, because people will be looking forward to the Super Bowl. You'll still keep the momentum, I'm going to use that word, of football, going on. And it would be a nice platform game. Nice. And
if I can enter
the regular season.
I just think no. I mean, because at that time, college football is done. I mean, why even bring it into that arena of football where you're looking at the end of football? I mean, of NFL football, professional football. I mean, we hadn't even you're taking away a little bit from the shine of whoever wins the national championship.
Entertainment, James. It's entertainment. That's all it's going to be looked at. Army, Navy, the military going at it. It's going to be more than football.
I like it where it is. But take games up against it. They're going to, as the playoffs expand, and they will. There'll be playoff games. And if you move it that late, and I can agree with James, if you move it that late, I think it loses. The momentum is lost because college football is over. Well, I guess by the time you're saying that, Jack, college football would be over, and we're focused on the Super Bowl, and it's going to get lost in a lot of other stuff.
Mm-hmm. But what I will say, I'm sorry, Keith, is that no matter what military institution wins, it's always a win for everybody in America, because these guys go on to serve their country, these men and women, and that's what's most important here.
It's not a victory for Army. They weren't too happy. when it was all up. Look at it.
I'm- As an Army vet-
they did get a little scrappy at the end. Yeah, they
Yeah,
did.
As an
come
Army
on,
vet, trust me.
They're not feeling too good today, the military base, with Army losing the game.
No, of course
It's not
not.
like win-win, everyone is like happy. It's like when the Mets played the Yankees in the World Series, they said before the series they're going to have a parade to honor both teams. And after the Yankees won, the Mets bailed out. They didn't want to be part of a celebration.
No moral victories, right, Jack?
Yeah.
No moral victories. They played a great game, though. Everybody talked about Horvath before this game. Helms played a great game yesterday. Played the game of his life, I think.
Both quarterbacks had similar stats. I mean, both had over 100 yards rushing, 82 yards passing. Not much in the air, but if it wasn't for the defensive Army, they wouldn't even be in this game. I thought they played an outstanding game, particularly 99. What's that kid's name? 99. It reminds. It looks like Max Crosby out there.
There was a big deal of the game was that he was recruited by Army, but he's from Annapolis, Maryland.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he was everywhere on that field. I mean, everywhere. That dude was playing his behind off.
Army was nowhere. Jeff Monken, I say this constantly on my college football show. Jeff Monken's one of the most underrated coaches in the country. He came there, and Army was like nowhere for almost like decades. I'd have a season here or there, but they've been very competitive since he's been there. They've won more than half of these Army-Navy games since he's been there. And he's been relevant at times on a national level. So he's done a great job at Army. I'm really kind of surprised he's there after a dozen years.
Yeah.
And Army had a chance to win. The interception that went for a pick six, if the guy doesn't kneel down, that's a big swing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Army
Most
won it at
definitely.
the end when Navy fumbled at the goal line and the ball goes back to like the 7-8 yard line.
Yeah.
I thought, what a disaster for Navy, but they got the touchdown.
The guy tried to pick the ball up and go the other way instead of just falling on the ball.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Always is the case too. It doesn't make a difference if you're in college or the pros. You see a player do that all the time. Just fall on the ball.
That's 100%. I don't think I've ever seen a bounce quite as fortunate as the one Horvath got at the end of the game. For him to be prone to the ground and lose the ball and for it to bounce right back in his hands, it's like I've never seen that. I don't think, and it was an interesting play. They got it right. I think the officials got it right too.
Yeah, the officials did a pretty good job in that game. There's a couple of calls. I love how Gary Danielson was calling out. Oh yeah, that should have been a call. That should have been. You shut up. I didn't like you when you played for the Lions. God. But anyway,
They let him play.
That's just me.
Grudges last.
They let him play.
Don't they? Poor Gary Danielson.
Right. But anyway, also yesterday, big news for college was the Heisman Trophy. And quarterback Fernando Mendoza from Indiana won the Heisman Trophy, beating out Vanderbilt's quarterback Diego Pavia, OSU's quarterback Julian Sand, and Notre Dame's running back Jeremiah Love.
Landslide.
By a landslide. He got 643 of the votes, first place votes. He would finish the season. Mendoza finishes the season with 2,980 yards, 33 touchdowns, and completed 71% of his passes. But the stats weren't the only reason why he won this award.
No.
He was clutch when it mattered. He had comeback wins over Iowa, OSU, and most notably, if I can speak today, most notably Penn State, which the game-winning touchdown was arguably the play of the year. So I mean, I think that was part of it too. That's the reason why I would have said he should have won it right there. Just his moxie. Mendoza also has won the Davey O'Brien Award as top quarterback and the Maxwell Award as country's best player. He also won the AP's Player of the Year. So he was racking in the awards.
Almost all these guys who win the Heisman have a Heisman moment, right? And you mentioned Mendoza having that Heisman moment against Penn State. I know Penn State was down this year, but they were on the verge of losing that game, and it was that last play is the one to remember. But they got to remember they went almost a length of the field in like 37 seconds in that game. He threw several great passes on that play, and had some help from his wide receivers. But people remember that. Pavia, though, had his moments, too. I'm surprised this was a landslide. I thought it'd be much, much closer than this. I wonder if Pavia's blatant campaigning for the award might have hurt him a little bit. He's got a little bit of a attitude, if you will. I don't know how to describe it. I like it. I mean, he's not playing. He's done. I mean, this kid isn't an NFL quarterback. His career's pretty much over playing quarterback, and he left it all on the field. I'm very happy what he did. And Indiana never winning a Heisman before. Huge story there. That helps him with that good team. And I mean, for guys to finish 1 and 2 from Indiana and Vanderbilt, who would have thought, that would even be possible?
You're saying Mendoza doesn't have a good NFL career ahead of him? Is that what you just said?
That Pavia has no NFL.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. Now, the Raiders and Jets are probably going to be picking at the top of the draft as of now. I mean, is Mendoza a viable pick if one of them has the first overall selection? Because both need a quarterback. But should they resist the temptation of drafting him because he's not that good and draft someone else or trade down or whatever?
James wanted to go this direction. I'll let him go first.
Yeah, James.
Yeah.
So when you look at the crop of quarterbacks that are going to go into the 2026 draft, the top names, and that's crazy that you mentioned that Pavia probably won't even be in that mix. You have Dante Moore out of Oregon, of course, Fernando Mendoza, and a few other guys that are there. But with these names, Keith, do you think that they're comparable to some of the more fruitful, shall I say, drafts of past maybe 2024, or 2019? Let's go there. Let's go, which was a great draft for quarterbacks. I think Joe Burrow, number 1, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, and Jordan Love. All those guys are playoff, caliber quarterbacks in the NFL. And the top guy that won the Heisman in Mendoza, you just shot off the numbers, B, and it doesn't really stand out to you. Like you said, it almost looks pedestrian for somebody, to come out and win. And not to take away anything Mendoza has done. I mean, he played for a dominant team. He had some clutch moments. But is this going to be something that we see, a lot of these guys get reached for in the first round? Somebody's going to take, like Jack said, the Jets need a quarterback, and they're probably going to take Mendoza if they have the number 1 pick, or if they move up to get him. I think obviously, I see Mendoza going to the New York Jets.
Overreach, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah. They do it every year. You know my feeling on this. Unless you got you got a star, which very rarely do you know this, by the way. Just take a look at some of the recent busts. You talked about some of the guys who have played well, but take a look at some of the busts since 2020, and they far outweigh the successes. And Mendoza, I'm not saying he won't go on to have a successful NFL career. I just don't think you take a chance with a top 10 pick with a guy like that. I'm telling you, this class is bad enough. If Arch Manning did come out, and I don't think he is, he'd be the number 1 pick in the draft.
Mendoza, if he's going to remind me of anyone, I have to go back a bit. And it turned out that this guy had a successful NFL career, and people were skeptical the same way. I'll mention the name Doug Flutie. People were skeptical. He showed a certain magic, Flutie, that Mendoza's shown this year. But a lot of people didn't think it would translate to the NFL. And he did struggle in the beginning of his NFL career, Flutie, but turned out to be, a quality starting quarterback.
He had to go play in Canada for 6 years before he really got a shot.
But ultimately, he proved himself to be an NFL success story.
I would compare him more to Pavia than I would Mendoza, quite frankly. Mendoza more of a traditional quarterback, I think, than say Doug Flutie at that point in time. But Flutie did have a decent, career once he came back. Listen, I watched him up close when he early in his career when he came to the Patriots and created a controversy because he shouldn't have been playing. He wasn't any good at that point. He just wasn't good enough to play. but the fans wanted to see him play. That's why he played there. That's why he played in Chicago.
Well, he went to the wrong team in the Chicago Bears in the
Terrible.
beginning. Jim
Terrible.
McMahon wasn't nice to him, and Mike Ditka's attitude feuding with McMahon. It wasn't a good situation.
Well, he came
And
to
let's
was a mess too when he came there. So and he didn't
let's
play
be
in great situations in either place. Sorry, James. Go ahead.
no, it's okay. Let's be fair to Flutie too. The game wasn't set up for somebody that's 5'9", 5'10". So when Drew Brees came, I mean, and people like to say he's 6 foot. Drew's like 5'11", if that. The game is definitely a lot different now. You can't hit the quarterback. I mean, the game is curtailed to people like Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray. Drew Brees opened the door, but the door was open for Drew Brees by how the rules changed for the quarterback as well. So, I mean, I think had Flutie, my point is, had Flutie played in this era, he probably would be dominant. I think, as a player, a lot of rollouts, a lot of read options. It's going to be a lot easier for somebody his height.
Back to Mendoza real quick. I personally, and I don't think he's great either and shouldn't get drafted early, but I think as for pure potential on the next level, I think Dante Moore has got more potential than Mendoza, quite frankly.
I mean, let me call off some of these names. Drew Aller, Clay Klubnik, Carson Beck, Lenore Sellers, John Mateer. These are guys, Garrett Nussmeier. These are guys that are going to come out this year. And
Sellers is going back to South Carolina, he said yesterday. So.
Oh, you did say he's going to go back?
They've negotiated. This is where we are, right? He negotiated a redeal on his NIL. He's staying in college. This is where we're at. So, yes, he was probably encouraged to do so. I mean, considering he had a bad year. Because he did have a bad year, and we thought, we talk about Arch and the guys who failed this year at quarterback. And Arch Manning is the poster child, but everybody at the top failed. You mentioned most of them. Sellers, Alar, Klubnik, all of them were Heisman candidates at the top of the season, and they all, in one form or another, failed through injury or lack of performance or both. Carson Beck.
But you have three teams, the Raiders, the Jets, and the Arizona Cardinals, who absolutely cannot run it back with what they have. They absolutely can't. And if they do, they'd be foolish. Then they should move on from their coaches if they don't do it anyway.
You shouldn't draft quarterbacks, by the way, Jack. I just think teams there are better players that will help you for longer periods of time and are sure things at different positions than quarterbacks.
I disagree. I disagree. I mean, look at all the elite quarterbacks you have and look where they were drafted. I mean, even
it's rare, Jack.
Number 10 to get them. Joe Burrow, Bengals. Imagine they went in another direction.
No Super Bowls. You haven't mentioned a Super Bowl.
But Joe Burrow was a sure shot. I mean, that's why I mentioned the 2019. Sure shot. He was a sure shot.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, if the guy's not a sure shot, I agree with Keith. You get the best player available. You don't go for need just because you need a quarterback. If you have clearly a better player in another position, we agree on that point. But I don't want to hear you can wait to get your franchise quarterback. Even you mentioned Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love. Both the Packers and the Eagles moved up in the draft because they showed a certain urgency, how important it was, that position.
Were they top 10 picks?
No.
So
one was taken.
The Eagles didn't even have Carson Wentz at the time. And the Packers had Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they were thinking for the
Super Bowl. By the way, you haven't mentioned a Super Bowl winner yet, just to be clear.
No, nobody in 2019 has won a Super Bowl. Now, Jordan Love was taken in the top 20 picks, and he was the first round draft pick, which was a bit controversial. But also, Jalen Hurts was taken in the second round. And so, yeah, I mean, these guys, I don't think a second round. I get what Keith said. Don't take a top 10 pick if it's a reach. Get a later first round or a second round or third round draft pick. I would go with that.
I'm not saying like Tom Brady. I'm not saying you can do that just because one guy's an aberration. I'm not saying that.
Mm-hmm. But the majority of those names I just called off for 2026 are likely at best third round or worse.
If you're picking something like 25th, and you notice the quarterback there and the value. He's not quite a top 10, but if you don't pick him, you know someone else is going to pick him before you get to the second round. You kind of have to strategize in a way.
I won't argue with that. I mean, I'm talking about wasting really prime real estate.
I'm going to name one player, quarterback. The Jets have a lot of draft capital. 2 number ones this year. I think they have 2 number 2s. They have 3 number 1s next year. I like Carson Beck a lot. So if I'm the Jet GM, I want Carson Beck. But I'm not going to pick him if I'm picking in the top 3. That's too much of a reach. But what am I supposed to do if I'm waiting a little longer till late in the first round? Then he might be gone. So do I move back a little bit with my first overall selection and get another pick, feeling I could still get him? It's a bit of a gamble.
Yeah, but for you have draft capital to wiggle around a little bit. Let's just say you want to go from 3rd to 1 to get Mendoza, you can do that because you have the aces in your hand.
Unless the Raiders won, I might get the feeling the Raiders are going to draft Mendoza because they need a quarterback as much as the Jets. They're not running it back with Geno Smith.
But Jack's got a great point too. If you have a guy, if the 10th guy is just a little bit worse in your mind than the best guy, and you can wait and pick the 10th guy late in the first round, or not the late first round, but second, whatever. Then wait for the 10th guy. If there's only a marginal difference between these guys, and there's not a huge gap between the top 10 guys here. There's just not. Any one of them could hit. And they could.
I don't think, guys, I don't think the GMs are that smart. You look at the situation, Lamar Jackson. No, the year wait. The year
that's
the
an
Ravens
understatement.
drafted Lamar Jackson. Look at all the other quarterbacks that went before him. Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen. Had those guys been available to the Ravens would have picked them. And Lamar Jackson is the second best quarterback in that group behind Josh Allen. But they would have taken Sam Darnold, the Ravens, ahead of him, and Baker Mayfield.
The funny part, when he got drafted,
Josh Rosen even, I guess,
The NFL's changed a lot since Lamar Jackson was drafted as well. That's one of the reasons. If he was drafted today, coming out of Louisville the way he played in college, he would have been a much higher draft pick because of the way the game's played in the NFL today.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only problem is in that regard, you had one of the most premium, notable voices that said some pretty controversial things about Lamar Jackson. And everybody ran with that. And that was Bill Polian saying that Lamar Jackson is not a NFL quarterback. He's a wide receiver. He should try to play those positions. And look, I've heard these things before. I've seen it. And yes, some guys, like, believe it or not, Penn State's Michael Robinson turned out to be a fullback, in the NFL for the Seattle Seahawks. But he was a phenomenal college quarterback for Penn State. And I almost forgot that he even played quarterback. Years later, I'm like, oh yeah, that was him. That guy actually played pretty decent. He had them in contention for close to be trying to get a national title, or at least to a big game. I think they did get to a big game. But with that said, Lamar Jackson was just different. Lamar Jackson was totally different at Louisville. I watched most of his career, and I thought it was a bit egregious to put that on him. And I think that's what dropped his stock. And somebody believed in him.
What went on with him and Bill Polian, James? Something, as I understood, went down a little for Bill Polian to make that remark.
No, I don't believe so. I just think that's Bill Polian. First of all, I have a high admiration and respect for Bill Polian as a GM. It's clear that one thing about, like, me working in science, you believe in evidence. The evidence is there. You can't take none of that away from him. As far as, like, Peyton Manning, what he did in Indianapolis, and of course for the Bills as well, just there. But my thing is, you can miss at times, and I think he missed on it, and he was solid even when they brought it back to his attention later on. Since Lamar has played, he still he doubled down. He doubled down it. Yeah, I
can't resist that. When have you ever heard of anyone suggest a white college quarterback be made a wide receiver. Okay.
Sometimes it's happened. It's happened. It's happened. I mean,
John Elway was a great
no, hold on.
athlete.
No, hold
We have to
on. I
get
mean,
Elway to
what's
be made
the?
a wide receiver.
No, not that guy. I get what you're saying at the level of talent, but I mean, guys who literally were great college quarterbacks, like we're talking about Tim Tebow or Frost for Nebraska. Those, I mean, you end up being a safety. You know, those guys shouldn't be quarterbacks in the NFL. It's because
a running back is like a little bowling ball.
Yes, exactly. But no, I get what you're saying at the level of talent.
Yeah.
No, that to me, that was disheartening on what he was saying, because it kind of brings you back to saying you wanted Warren Moon to play wide receiver or whatever it was they wanted him to play instead of playing quarterback.
I just want to point out the first black quarterback in the NFL, Keith will remember, Marlon the Magician Briscoe. Now, he wasn't a great quarterback, but he was decent. He was with a bad Denver Bronco teams, but they turned him into a wide receiver. And his legacy should be as the first black quarterback in the NFL. And he should be remembered as such, but he played maybe one season as quarterback. He did get a consolation prize. He went to the Miami Dolphins as a backup wide receiver and was there for the unbeaten season in the Super Bowl year after. So he did get a couple of championships, and he was on a historical team. But if you're Marlon, Briscoe, you got to feel cheated in a sense.
There was a lot of talented black quarterbacks that came out then that never got a chance. Drew Pearson was a college quarterback at Tulsa.
I didn't know that.
And went undrafted and had to become a wide receiver to get in the league. So a lot of guys. Eddie Solomon, I can think of 100 guys, not 100.
Keith, had Joe Gilliam not had those off-the-field problems, he was competing with Terry Bradshaw and Terry Hanratty.
He won the job.
Quarterbacks with the Steelers. As it turned out, the Steelers made the right choice with Bradshaw. They won 4 Super Bowls. But he had a gun fun arm.
He won the job. He went 4-1-1 at the start of the season when he beat out Bradshaw, and then the trouble started with him off the field. And
then he went on to the USFL, and his career just disintegrated. Yeah.
With Lamar Jackson, part of the bias, I think, was, and there was still a problem, not a bias in a racial sense, but bias against certain types of quarterbacks. They weren't taking any snaps under center in college at that point, and they still were in the NFL a lot more than they do today. I mean, almost there's teams that don't take any. There was a bias against Josh Allen the same way, not quite as bad as Lamar Jackson, obviously. But he never took a snap under center in college, and that was held against him along with some other things. But there's a lot of guys, because of the way college was being played versus the pros, and they're both played the same way today, right? Everybody's running the same offenses almost at the elite programs in the NFL. So I think today, if that draft were to happen again, Lamar Jackson would have gone much higher, and Bill Polian probably would have had the same opinion, but. And
yes,
he's not backing down from it now. The other question I wanted to point, just a brief segue into the NFL. Now that we have the NIL and the transfer portal situation hasn't been fixed yet, do you see college players? It seems like the quality of college players has gone a little bit down. I mean, every year we're like, really? And I think it's more because it's been watered down a little bit because of the transfer portals and stuff like that. And not necessarily NIL. I want the players to get paid. That's all be it. But I think the level of the college players that are coming out are not – you don't have because everybody wants to go somewhere to prove themselves, and they want to be number one where they're at. And you're really not, you can really say that, but you're not the talent that you need to be in that position. You could talk all the stuff you want to, but you're not on that talent level. And then you go transfer to another school, might be a smaller school. And that's going to make you stand out because you're on a smaller school that has no talent at all. And I think that's just stretching all the talent across I know that's what they want to do, but we don't have any people that are like, stand out to you like in a beginning of the 2000s, 90s and 80s and so forth and so on that says, oh yeah, that dude's definitely going to be a great NFL player? You don't have any of those kind of guys anymore. You don't have any guys that are on that. They can sniff that way, but I'm just thinking that the watered down, it's just watered down now, these college athletes. I mean, what is your opinion on that? Because
the problem is, how do you know what you have when they play in 4 different programs in 5 years?
Exactly.
You know, they, as you said, they transferred down to a lower level, even from Power Four conference to a group of 6, group of 5, group of 6 next year team. And they throw out one good year. We got one good year tape, and we just say, okay, this guy's the next best thing. And he really isn't, because he hasn't done it over any period of time. It's hard. I don't know what the situation. I don't think it's ever been harder for NFL GMs. They aren't that smart, as Jack said, or they're trying to outsmart themselves. You know, when they drafted Trey Lance number 2. I mean, come on. These guys have to be harder than that.
I think the situation is the NIL, like what you mentioned, B. It's a double-edged sword. The kids definitely should be paid, but what you get on the negative side is that a lot of these guys don't have to wait anymore. They don't have to sit behind which is one of the reasons why Nick Saban is gone. He would have the best talent at multiple positions, and guys would sit there and have to wait, and because they have to promise that they're going to play at some point, or they would, swap guys out and have them play, multiple guys play, during the game. Now guys don't have to do that anymore, because they're mercenaries. They can go to wherever they want to play and go play at any other school. I don't have to sit here and I'm going to get my attention somewhere else if I'm not going to play here. That's just what it is. These guys have instant gratification now. So you're going to go in a transfer portal quickly. And it benefits some schools, because people like Lane Kiffin, who dubbed himself as the transfer portal king, picks guys off the back. Trinidad Chambliss or some of these other kids that come and play for him, and he utilizes it. But it's tough to maintain and keep players anymore.
I think it hurts James, too, because kids like, I can't remember, Daniels was his last name. I can't, maybe TJ Daniels. He started out at USC. He played for 5 schools in 5 years. Rather than sitting in a system, getting better and improving and getting reps for the second team and whatever else, he just kept jumping from job to job. And he went from USC at the start to Rice at the end. So,
LSU was one of those. CJ Daniels, he went from Liberty, LSU, to USC, and now Rice. Wow, that's crazy.
What happened to his college credits? Does the other university accept the credits from one to the other? I'm tired of that. I think there should be a rule in the transfer portal, and I wonder what the stats are now. I don't think any player should be allowed to transfer to a school who has anyone on that coaching staff who he's had an association with in the past, who he's played under. Okay, and I'm talking about high school, college, whatever. And that's the way to solve it in part, because Lane Kiffin couldn't go back and get his old players and raid, Ole Miss, for example. You put that rule in place, a lot of guys are going to stay where they are, because a lot of guys who leave on the transfer portal have had an association with either the head coach or an assistant coach.
That's a good point.
I think you should assign contracts as well. I mean, at most 2 years. I mean, we're talking college careers are very short, but there's got to be contracts.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You got to hold them accountable to, if I'm going to, like Bryce Underwood, if I'm going to give you $10 million over, 4 years, then you better stay 4 years.
Right. Yeah. All right. Now we shall get into the National Football League. Thursday, there was a game played. Tampa Bay and Atlanta. Atlanta comes out on top on a field goal late. I don't even know what's going on with your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jack.
I don't know. I have a friend in Tampa, and, a couple of games ago, he was texting back and forth. I told him, don't worry about anything. They're getting healthy. They'll be fine. I mean, they're getting worse. What the heck is going on? I mean, I'm clueless. Even Baker Mayfield, he's playing awful compared to what he did earlier. Mike Evans, he was exasperated. Yes, I'm leaving before the game was over when, Atlanta was lining up, for field goal at the end. And no disrespect to the Saints and the Falcons. You have one slip up against one team. Okay, it can happen to anyone on a given day, but you kind of bounce back. But the ironic part about it is this. Regardless of what happens with the Buccaneers, they have when they're going to be playing the Miami Dolphins. Regardless of what happens in that game, and regardless of what happens in another game they have 2 games left with the Panthers. If they win those 2 games, they win the division. But they put themselves in the spot where they got to beat the Panthers twice, and they're going to play the Panthers next week in Carolina. So we're going to have to see whether they wake up or not. But if you're the Buccaneers, the scenario I guess you're looking for is let the division title be on the line the last game of the year. They'll be in Tampa, and by that point, they'll have it all together, win that game, win the division, and then be ready to make a move in the playoffs. It looks terrible now. You can't talk with any confidence, but we've seen this with other teams who are playing really bad. They look out of it, and then they turn it around. I suspect that'll be the case with the Buccaneers. But right now, the Buccaneers are awful these last couple of games. I can't believe it's going to continue. I can't believe what happened the last 2 games.
As they get healthier, they get worse. I don't understand.
I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't.
Well, they played Carolina twice, so it's really going to be win or
That's what
lose.
it's going to come down to. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Because getting to the schedule this week, we do quite a few good games on the slate. And one of them happens to be with Keith's New England Patriots. They're playing Buffalo. Buffalo needs this win to even think about even having first place. So, I mean, it's in New England. So that's where the advantage is. They got Buffalo at a point and a half. I don't know. Buffalo is just like really the Jekyll Hyde team. I just don't know what team we're going to get.
They put themselves in position to lose last week, and then Josh Allen saves their butts again. I mean, there's no way Josh Allen isn't the MVP in the NFL. Sorry. I mean, he's kept them alive. They'd be done if it wasn't for Josh Allen this year. He's played some tremendous football. They could go there and win this week. I mean, the Patriots have been better on the road this year than at home. They've improved recently. Their losses were early. Obviously, they haven't lost in like 3 months. So I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Well, they have to think of the buying New England more than winning the division because they're neck and neck with Denver, and they have a good opportunity today to, get a little bit of a stranglehold because the Broncos are playing the Packers, a very tough game.
I think it's important too. And they go hand in hand, right? You're not going to get the bye without winning the division, so they go hand in hand. But getting the home field advantage, and Jack and I have talked about this a lot on our show, that I feel, especially when we're talking about Denver, because I've seen through the years the Patriots go through Denver in the playoffs, and it's a horror show almost every time. It's a tough place to go play. And I think the home field advantage is going to be very important here. And the Patriots have always had a huge home field advantage in the playoffs when you're talking about January, now February football. I think it's huge. And they win today. And I mean, you don't want to assume anything, but the Ravens are the toughest game left after this. And quite frankly, they should beat them. I think they have them at home. And then it's the Jets and the Dolphins. So the team could win out if they win today. But
yeah, those are tough games. And the only reason I say those games are tough because all those teams' backs are against the wall. Miami's backs against the wall.
Miami be tougher.
Ravens backs against the wall. They got to win out to try to win. I mean, so you're going to get the best fight out of them. But 11-2 Patriots, they should clinch. They win this game. They clinch the AFC East, and they clinch a playoff berth. I just think that Buffalo's back's against the wall too, and I think they like you said, the guy with the quarterback, he's got a cape under his jacket, and he's probably going to get his second MVP nod. this
That's
year,
it.
and I think they're gonna upset the Patriots. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, but Buffalo's going to be in the playoffs even if they lose. They're going to be in the
Yes.
wild card. So I think they kind of know that.
Yeah.
I don't think they're stressing it. They want to win this game, but if they don't, I think they know they're in the postseason anyway.
You know, team that scares me. The Ravens would scare me to play in the playoffs as much as anybody because and Lamar Jackson we saw last week, even though they lost, played more of a Lamar Jackson type game. He ran the ball a lot more. He moved around a lot more, and the Patriots have struggled against that type of quarterback for as long as I can remember. So I don't want to see a healthy Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. I'll tell you that right now. So let's take care of them now in the regular season.
Well, I was talking about that a moment ago. Which teams have been mediocre but are going to get it together and all of a sudden be a force in the playoffs? It could be the Ravens. It could be the Buccaneers. It could be a couple of other teams. It could be the Bengals if they run the table all of a sudden, if they somehow sneak in the playoffs. And it's not preposterous to think the Bengals could still get in the playoffs because the Steelers could lose out the rest of the way. And the Ravens could play mediocre and the Bengals could win their last one at 8-9, actually steal the division. It's not impossible.
Yeah, and to Danny's point, I will still claim that as a good victory. Sorry, you go on the road and win it against a team that was 6-2 or 7-2, whatever they were at the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't predict the future. I mean, if they're going to be they were a good football team at that point in time. You know.
Yeah, there's no team being ranked in college football here, so it's not quality.
That's what Mike Vrabel, I love what Mike Vrabel says about that. There's no, we don't get to go pick our non-conference opponents. We just got to go play who they put in front of us.
And also
playoffs. That's all that matters, right? I understand people and their doubts and whatnot. This team has played really good football, and I'm as hard on my teams. I don't sit here and wear rose-colored glasses. If people pay attention to what I have to say, I can be very hard on my teams. This team has played really good football. They've been a little loose with the football at times. Drake May still has a brain fart every once in a while and tries to make something out of nothing, but they played really good football, and most of these teams that they were eyeball to eyeball with last year, they're beaten by 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. They're playing and winning the way good teams win. Sorry.
Coaching.
Let's make our picks. Let's make our picks. We only got Keith for 17 more minutes here.
Yeah. So who you got, Keith?
Bills. No, Patriots. I'll take the Patriots at the 1.5. Give me the points at home. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Bills in a fairly high-scoring game. James Cook has to have a big game running the ball, take a little of the pressure off Josh Allen. And this Patriots streak has to come to an end at some point. And Keith points out the rest of their schedule. I don't think any of us think the Patriots are going to continue to run the table for the rest of the regular season. I mean, that's a little too much a chore. I think the Bills win today, but the Patriots are still in good shape to win the division, even with a loss.
This is where it comes up, right? Are they better off losing a game here somewhere before the playoffs, right?
Sometimes that helps to take a little of the edge off, and then you reset.
That'd be scary.
I like the Bills here only because I think the Bills probably wanted a little more in this regard, meaning that they're 9-4, they're competing for placement and seedings and everything like that. But they're still bad against the run. But the only problem is New England's not that great against with the run as well. They're okay. I mean, in regards to ranking, we got the 28th best rush defense versus the 21st best rush offense. So I just think that I got to go with what Keith said regarding the quarterback for the Buffalo. He's just on an MVP level right now, and I'm not taking anything away from the second-year quarterback in New England. That kid is on it. Drake May is on point. So, but I think it'll be a high-scoring game. But I got the Bills in a close one.
Yeah, I also have the Bills. Don't know. I mean, he closed the game out there, Keith. Josh Allen, that is, against Cincinnati, but
with some
there
help.
was really 2 costly mistakes in that game. One by Burrow trying to throw over a guy.
2 by Burrow.
That didn't work out for him. and then that deflected pass that turned into an interception. So, I mean, you got to have some bounces that go your way. And it just, Josh Allen just took the reins from that point on and got it done. But I do think they're also going to win today. They need it more. I think that New England is sitting pretty right now, and I think that they amazed me so far. I thought they were going to finish second in this division, but they showing me I'm a liar.
I would have been happy with 9 wins, and we lost 2 of the games I thought those 9 wins would have been included in. So.
Yeah, so they're doing way above what they're supposed to be doing, or they're supposed to be doing. But that's great for them. I think they're going to win the division anyway, too. So, but I just think Buffalo needs this more. Of course, the hyped game that everybody's talking about that's been a cause of the conversation this week. Old Man Rivers is going to be starting for the Indianapolis Colts against the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know about this one, folks. What's your opinion on this, Keith?
I'm speechless. How desperate are teams for quarterbacks that we grab a 44-year-old quarterback who hasn't played in 5 years? 5 years. This is unprecedented. I cannot see any. Maybe he can throw the football, but how's he going to get out of people's way against a team that has maybe the best pass rush in the NFL or one of them? I think this could end ugly for Rivers today, and I hope I'm wrong, I guess, for his sake. But I've never been the biggest Phillips Rivers fan to begin with. And he's going to be a sitting duck out there. And I don't see how this ends well for the Colts. This is a desperation move of all desperation moves. So good luck. And I'll take Seattle by a lot.
Well, he's there, Philip Rivers, because he's had an association with Coach Steichen there. So he'll know how to run the offense. It's the physicality. How could he be in any type of football shape?
No.
I mean, for his sake, first, and the league's sake, second, I hope he doesn't get hurt. It would be a very ugly scenario if he suffered a serious injury. And now we're going to hear, should he have even been out there at all? I mean, supposedly his arm is still good. He can still fling it. Maybe he can do something. I mean, let me ask you this, guys. Are the Colts with Philip Rivers any worse off than the Jets are with Brady Cook quarterbacking today? No.
Who knows?
I mean, Philip Rivers, I don't think he's going to be a disaster out there. He'll compete some short passes. He might even, if a guy gets open down the field. I think a big concern of the Colts, what's happened to Jonathan Taylor? He's went from Superman to just merely good the last few games. And
game planning.
And is Sauce Gardner playing today? He didn't play last week.
I think
that's a sinking ship in Indianapolis because if playoffs started today, they'd be barely on the outside looking in, and things are more likely to get worse than they are to get better. I see Seattle winning easy, something like 28-7.
Sounds fair.
So the thing that happened to Jonathan Taylor is the same thing that would happen to Derrick Henry, in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson, as he goes, Derrick Henry goes. You have read option, both great players. One can run the ball, and read option allows Derrick Henry to have more of a options, to more lanes for him to go run through, because the threat of the run with the quarterback is there. The same thing happened with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones he was an underrated runner. He can actually run the ball. And so read option would allow most people to see that Jonathan Taylor, you don't have to put 8 in the box, because not only can he the quarterback run the ball, he can also throw it too. And so you had to keep a defense honest. And so you don't have to be honest now. If you first of all, before he got hurt,
Daniel Jones was banged up.
Daniel Jones was banged up. And so, okay, he's not going to run the ball. So we know that's why you started seeing John Taylor slow up, because they put more 8 and 9 in the box. With that said, Rivers came straight off an easy chair with the hoagie, chips, and a purple soda. So, so he comes straight up into the game, and he's going to throw. I don't know what he's going to do. I mean, he's probably, like you said, he probably can still throw the ball. He probably can still sling it. or maybe Riley Leonard's going to play and he's going to take one of the offensive line positions and go out there and block because he looks like one. He could be an offensive lineman right now. Look, it is desperation right now, and I wish them well because I at the beginning of the season I picked this team to go into the playoffs, and looked like they were on that trajectory, but unfortunately, injury has derailed some of those hopes, and they're like Jack said, they're a sinking ship, and I don't think they're gonna bounce back from this unless we see something good from Phillip Rivers. But his first game against probably one of the best defenses in football is going to be really tough to go in, and I got the Seahawks winning this game.
Yeah, but James, another factor to it, Phillip Rivers, by him playing today, the clock starts all over again for his Hall of Fame eligibility, and a lot of people think he is going to ultimately get in the Hall of Fame, but he's got to wait 5 years again. He's got to start over the clock. Something seems unfair about that if he plays 2-3 games to start his clock over again, but rules are rules.
There's a lot of talk about Brady coming back and compared to Rivers. These are totally different situations. Brady retired for like 6 months. He didn't retire for 5 years. And I thought they superimposed Rivers' head on top of my body when I saw him in a press conference, for crying out loud. So there you go.
Well, you mean to tell me Brady could have a Fox contract, be a minority owner of the Raiders, and actually play for the Colts if he had to?
Probably. The NFL doesn't care about that stuff.
Yeah, they wouldn't know. On that note, though, I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, you guys are, I wouldn't say disrespecting Rivers because the age is where he's at. He hasn't been playing for a while. But like Danny said, he has been coaching a high school team. So it's not like he's out of shape.
Oh, okay. That's
I mean, he's not, like you said, though, it's not in NFL shape, but he's not out of shape. And you got to remember something about Rivers. When he retired, a lot of the players that are on the team right now were on the team when he was there. So that helps him out. I think that's the reason why Indianapolis signed him, because of that feature. I think they were, and he asked them. It wasn't the other way around. They didn't ask him. He asked them.
Biff Paggio's coaching a Division I college football team. I don't think he's in any shape to play either. By the way.
Yeah, but anyway, the point of the matter is that they didn't. They're in desperation mode. This is true.
Well, who else could they have done? Who would have been available if they didn't turn towards Phillip Rivers? Who's
let me tell you, there are a lot of. I mean, I'm just saying. You said nobody, but there are a lot of quarterbacks that you can get out of practice squads. Somebody that you can get. Forget going off the rails. I mean, but just getting somebody that can actually play the game that's in shape. That's all I'm saying. That's it. I'm not taking anything away from Rivers' career. He was a stellar quarterback. I mean, he's pretty good. I mean, he had some good numbers. He had some good years in San Diego. I just think that 44 and out of shape, it's not a good mix. Trying to resurrect a team or put them back in trajectory for playoffs. That's going to be tough. That's really tough.
Yeah, I was just trying to give him a small, little bit of something going on. And I'm taking all the 13.5 points that Seattle's going to give anyway right there, because Seattle's just playing at the top of their game right now. I think they're really going to win this division. I think the Rams are going to fall flat near the end of the season. Not fall flat, but they're not going to. They got to play the Rams again pretty soon. They got to play the Lions today. And I think the Rams got another San Francisco. I think they got to play. This is San Francisco. I can't remember who the Rams have to play in the next couple games. But anyway, so it's going to be a tougher road for the Rams than it is going to be for Seattle. Seattle's too much defense, too much. And they're playing in Seattle too. Oh yeah, hecky no. Indianapolis is not winning that game. All right. Next game that's a pretty big game also at 4:25 is the Green Bay Packers going to the Denver Broncos. Two pretty good defenses here going against each other, and the offenses are like ticky-tack. Who you got, Keith?
I rarely root for the Packers, but I will today because of the Broncos and the Patriots neck and neck in that conference race, as Jack talked about. Two quarterbacks that are kind of up and down. You don't know what you're going to get from week to week with these two guys. I think two good defenses. I don't expect a lot of fireworks in this game. I think it'll be played get one in the trenches, to use a well-known cliche. But I like the Packers to go in there and give them a fight and maybe win a close game. That might be more my heart than my head, but I'll take the Packers.
Yeah, I go along with Keith. It's ironic the game's in Denver, and Denver's won, like 10 games in a row or so, and Denver's underdogs. I mean, that's kind of strange, especially because they're at home. Yeah, close game, but yeah, I think defenses are going to, show up a little more to the offenses. Maybe Packers win 23-17, might even go into overtime.
Quarterback with the least mistakes will win today.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So I agree with both of you in regards to, and Brian, when you mentioned that both defenses are pretty evenly matched and are very good defenses, and the quarterbacks play, I think I give slight edge to Jordan Love in regards to quarterback play. But no one's talking about what the issue that might tip the game over into a favor of one of the teams is the elevation. Maybe it's, being in Mile High Stadium, it might be a big tough for Green Bay going there to play, but I still think I'm going to go with Green Bay in a tight one here. They're all playing for all the marbles here, and I think everybody wants to, try to get the best seating they can at this juncture. But I'm going to go with Green Bay as well.
Well, we're definitely going to find out what these teams are made of this day, because as I've been stating before, and I'm not just being a hateful person because Green Bay is in my division, but Green Bay hasn't really shown me anything that is telling me that they're going to be a Super Bowl contender. Because they're going to be in the playoffs. I don't know about Super Bowl contender. There's just laps they go through. And Denver's the same way. You can't, something that we always talk about, Bo always talks about actually, is the fact that the fourth quarter comes in, they decide to play some offensive football. They've been doing better at that lately. They've been playing full games lately, but it's I don't know what offense is going to show up. And it's whatever offensive line can protect the quarterback the most is probably going to be the one that wins this game. I'm going Denver because it's in Denver. If it was in Lambeau, I'd probably go Green Bay. But yeah, I'll go Denver in this one. One last one for the road, Keith?
Sure.
All right. So the next game that we have that seems to be up there on the list, the LA Chargers are going to the Kansas City Chiefs. LA is at second place in that division. The Chiefs are fighting for their lives. Who do you got, Keith?
The Chargers are playing good football. They were a little bit inconsistent earlier in the year. They're playing really good football, I think, right now. I just have a hard time picking against this Chiefs team until the last breath is out of them. They're at home. It's a tough place to go play. They still have a significant home field advantage. I know they're not the Chiefs or even close to what the Chiefs have been the last, half a decade, but I think there's one last gasp in this team, and I'm going to take the Chiefs at home today to upset the Chargers and give themselves a little bit of life. There you go, Danny. I did it for you.
Who you got, Jack?
Now, we keep hearing that the Chiefs have to run the table. Then they lose a game, and then we hear the next week they have to run the table to get in the playoffs. Now they really have to run the table, and it might not get them in the playoffs. If they haven't won must games, the last 2 or 3 losses, I mean, what makes you think they're going to run the table? And the Chargers beat them in the season opener. I know today's a toss-up game in Kansas City. I know the Charger offensive line having some problems. I know the Chargers got outplayed by the Eagles, but they still found a way to win. Sometimes you get a sense it's not a team's year. It's just not their year. And the Chiefs aren't all of a sudden going to prove resilient and run the table, get in the playoffs, go to the Super Bowl. It's a down year for the Chiefs. I think the Chargers finish them off today. It'll be a close game, another heartbreaking loss, like 21-20, something like that. But I think after today, no more Kansas City Chief talk as far as this year goes.
I won't put money on them, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Yes. So what? Before Keith leaves, I'm going to say this. Put this stat out there: 10 straight playoff appearances, 7 straight conference appearances, in AFC championships, and 3 Super Bowls. That's all on the line. That's all on the line right here. They're at home. They lost a really bad one, the last game. I really think, and they got 12% chance of playoff. Their hopes are on this game, and then the next game, and the next game. They're going to win this game. They're going to win at home. I just think that they're not going to go out like that. And the Chargers' offensive line is like horrible. So they have a great opportunity to win at Arrowhead Stadium. So I think they're going to win this game.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that too. I think the Chiefs are going to win. They're getting to 4.5, which you think is a lot over to LA, but yeah, Chiefs' backs are really, really against the wall now, so they got to win everything. So, all right, Keith.
Enjoy the
It's
games,
been a pleasure,
guys.
sir.
Have a great
You
Sunday.
too. Enjoy your Sunday, man.
See you tomorrow, Jack. Bye-bye.
All right. So the next game we're going to be talking about, we're going to get into some other than, great games coming up here. One of Clock Slate has us at the Washington Commanders playing the New York Giants on the road there, 2.5 point favorites for the Giants. I think this might be, I think the Giants will have to win this game. What you got, Jack?
Man, I mean, the Giants have been a big disappointment this year. Not that much was expected, but we kept hearing about their touted defense, and Brian Burns is doing his part. He's having a great, great year. And Jackson Dart gives him some hope at quarterback in the future. I think losing Malik Neighbors hurt the Giants a lot more than people let on to. A lot more. And Washington, they were considered Super Bowl contenders, getting Deebo Samuel early in the year, making some other moves. And they've been absolutely atrocious. And I can't say I feel it's going to get much better next year. One of those games, that's got to be a win. I think the Giants win, competitive game, something like 23-19. I don't think much of both teams at this point.
What you got, James?
Talk about your blockbuster games on Sunday toward the end of the
There
season.
you go.
Oh, my goodness. Man, just give me a coin and I'll flip it and I'll pick a team. And it's really not good. I agree with everything Jack said. It's just particularly the Malik Neighbors take that really hurt them. And even when he was there, you saw like Russell Wilson had that phenomenal game against the Cowboys, and they still end up winning. It's just a lot of disappointment that you guys are supposed to win certain games, and your coach is desperate. He got fired eventually, and it's just been a down year for them. And they really need to hit on their draft pick and their coaching hire when next season. But I got them winning this game. It can go either way, but I'm going to pick the Giants.
Yeah, I'm going to go along with the Giants too, just because it's in the Meadowlands. I mean, yeah, it's a coin flip basically. You kick a rock, see which side is facing sunny side up. That's the way who's going to win.
Yeah, I mean, there's even internal bickering, like with Coach Kafka, the interim coach. He fired Brian Cox, one of the assistants, because they were arguing over seating on the plane. That the coach's seating on the airplane was changed, so that turns into an argument there. What are the players playing for on both teams? Them and Washington. Can you imagine the players on the Commanders? They've lost about 10 straight. They go one game from the Super Bowl last year to this. How do you motivate yourself, for these games? You're really playing for nothing except pride in that afternoon.
Especially the older players like Wagner. I mean, who's top-notch linebacker for years, and this is how you go out. Yeah, I don't know. And Jaden Daniels, obviously, him getting hurt too. That's understated as well. in regards to like Malik Neighbors. Both those guys have had, they had really good stellar rookie seasons, and to get hurt, it really hurts their opportunities in their second season.
Yeah, I think Scatterboot was also a loss for them too, because they were starting to establish a pretty good run there in mid-season there. So I'm still going with the Giants. I think the Giants take care of business because it's in in New Jersey. So yeah, I go with them. The next game is another game that's kind of the Raiders are going to the Eagles. And the Raiders are basically, and the Eagles are kind of like on this path. I don't know where it's going to end up at, but they better get their stuff together, because if they want to even make a push to think they're going to go back to another Super Bowl, it better start today. Because if it doesn't, I don't know where they're going to go from this point. They're self-destructing, I think. Jack, who you got?
I'll tell you, the Raiders have been awful this year. I mean, they have a few talented players, very talented players, but they've been awful, and they're not playing for anything at all in reality. But I'm a little apprehensive in picking the Eagles. I am picking the Eagles. I don't think they're an absolute lock because of what happened a couple of years ago. Is this a free fall or not? It's a concern. They have a history of falling apart 2 years ago, and that was between two Super Bowls. Basically, it happened with the same players, and they outplayed the Chargers in their last game, but they found a way to lose. Are they going to be motivated for the Raiders? And the game is in Philadelphia. It could get ugly. Maybe the Raiders show up on one given game. They're playing the Super Bowl champs, and they play a good game. And I wouldn't be flabbergasted if the Raiders actually won this game, believe it or not. But with that said, you think on talent and alone and pedigree and Jalen Hurts being in the news, that just the idea there was talk replacing Jalen Hurts at quarterback, that's ludicrous. I'm glad Nick Sirianni shut it down as being ridiculous. But just the idea that the Philly fans have this level of discontent right now. But I'll pick the Eagles to win 27-16. But this game is kind of like a wild card type game, not for the standings. Something feels uncomfortable in analyzing this game.
So with all the talent that the Eagles have, I have to agree with you, Jack, in regards to the inconsistencies. One year you're locked and loaded, going full throttle, and you get to the Super Bowl, you're just like one score away from winning the Super Bowl in 2023, and then 2024 you have this bad season. In 2022, then 2023 you have the free fall. You get to the playoffs, you get knocked out by the Vikings. Then you bounce back in 24 and you win a Super Bowl. And now it looks like we're back to the same thing. So it's just a high level of inconsistency there. And you're wondering, is it coaching? Is it Sirianni and his crew? The lack of offensive play, with Kellen Moore gone. I don't know what the situation is. I just know that they're not in a good situation because the team is still talented. All the talent hasn't left. It's still there for the taking, but you're allowing it to just fall right into the toilet and flushing away your potential. And I just think that maybe some changes have to be made at the end of the season, or the question is there. I'm not going to say anybody needs to lose their job because
not the coach. No, I hope you're not talking about Nick Sirianni with changes. Please don't go there. The guy's been so darn successful. Oh, come on, get out of here. Not Nick Sirianni.
But somebody's got to take the blame, Jack. Somebody's got to take the blame for this.
It'll be the offensive coordinator. That's definitely is going to happen. He's gone.
Not Nick Sirianni should be as safe as any coach in the NFL with what he's accomplished the last 3 years. Come on.
Yes, but the Eagles, we're talking about the Eagles organization and the fan base. This is something different here. There's a possibility. I'm not saying he should. But somebody's going to be looking to point the blame at somewhere because there's no excuse to be this talented and this inconsistent.
Well, maybe they don't have an identity. We discussed it on this show. Should they be more of a running or more of a passing team? And we were even split. You guys thought they should be more of a running team. with Saquon Barkley leading the way. And I thought they should be more of a passing team, got at tight end, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown as wideouts, and a good offensive line. But the offensive line that was a strength is kind of faulted a little bit. I know it's a league-wide problem, but they're not quite the same. And I don't know. It might just be attitude. Sometimes it's nothing more than attitude. And I don't know where the player's mindset is. They have a 2-game lead on Dallas. And it's a game and a half, but in reality, Dallas has got to make up 2 games. So the Eagles are going to be in the playoffs unless they do go into a free fall. And we'll know whether they're going into a free fall, I think, after today. If they win today, everything could be fine. And if they win decisively, but if they lose today, the free fall has already started, meaning before today. We're catching them in the middle of the free fall. And then the question is, can they stop it? Because if Dallas wins and the Eagles lose today, Dallas is just 1 game away from overtaking them. They just have to make up 1 game to win the division. And then it becomes panic time in Philadelphia that they might actually not make the playoffs even.
Well, I'm going to go with the Eagles here, but let's just say I wouldn't be surprised of an upset here. And if it does happen, I agree with you fully that there's a free fall, and then yes, you got to start looking at things. If they go and let's just say they do this and just loses all the way out and don't make the playoffs, there definitely some heads should roll for sure.
Guys, it's fan bases too. The Buccaneers are undergoing a free fall right now, but they're not in Philadelphia where people are going to get on them the same way. But when you're in Philadelphia, it becomes more of a story.
I just think that Philadelphia, they're favored by 11.5. I don't see them beating the Raiders by 11.5. I do see them winning. The Raiders are they're bad. They're pretty bad. I mean, it might take an act of all kinds of things happening, but I just think that Philadelphia is going to win this game, and maybe they'll get themselves back on course. I don't think people keep saying when they're searching for their identity. They had an identity. They had an identity last year. The problem is they haven't stuck with that identity. And that's the thing. That's the problem. They were a running team. They had Jalen Hurts running and had him running a lot more than he did this year, which helped the running game with Saquon. They're not doing that this year at all. I mean, there's every once in a while he'll do it, but it's not as frequent as it was last year. And I don't think it's the identity. They've lost their identity. I don't think they've continued their identity. That's the problem, and that's on the OC. The OC will probably get fired. I don't believe Nick Sirianni will get fired. I think his resume speaks too much for itself. But I think there is going to be somebody that takes the header, and that's going to be the OC, unfortunately. But I do have Philadelphia winning this game. All right, next game that we have. Oh God, it just gets better as we go along. We have the Cleveland Brownies at the Chicago Bears. Chicago's favored by 7.5. Who you got, Jack?
Yeah, Chicago's a better team. They should win this game. Coming off that loss to the Packers, about the only thing that could, undo the Bears is if they have a real letdown, because we've discussed it. You can't get up for every team every week. We hear the pep talks, well, it's the NFL. You have to be up for everyone. I mean, the Bears are hosting the Cleveland Browns. They're not psyched for a game like this. But unless the Shedeur Sanders effect wakes up their defense, and they've been talking all week to do a real job on them. And there are probably a few players on the bad defense who maybe don't like Shedeur Sanders, like in the Rocky movie when we heard the guy Gazzo say to Rocky, some guys hate for no reason. And you probably have a few players on the Bears who don't like Shedeur Sanders, no rhyme or reason outside of the hype. And yeah, but I'll like the Bears in this one, something like 24-17. The Cleveland defense, which has been good most of the year, they're erratic now and then. But, I want to see Myles Garrett get the sack record out of the way. Michael Strahan shouldn't have it based on Brett Favre tanking it, but that's another issue. We could talk about maybe on the debate show or something. But I think Myles Garrett not only wants to get the sack record, but maybe put it beyond anyone else. But
He's got enough games.
So that's part of the story, I think, this game. But I think it's competitive. The Bears 24, Cleveland 17.
Scott James.
Not only do I think it's going to be a competitive game, like you said, I think it's going to flip and go the opposite way. I think this is my upset special. I like Cleveland to go into Soldier Field and beat the Bears, and not handily, but I think Shedeur Sanders, his upward trajectory continues. I don't think he gets 364 yards. I don't even think he has 3 TDs, but I think he does enough to go in there and upset. I think he has a really good defense, good enough to shut down Caleb Williams. Albeit Denzel Ward is out. And he's got somebody replacing him. So I'm pretty sure they're going to attack that area, that side of the field. But Caleb Williams, as much as I've been rooting for him since his rookie year, he's showing some improvement, but he still can be very inconsistent. And I think against a really good defense, he may have a hard time. And I think with the pass rush, Myles Garrett is trying to get that sack record. And I think he's going to get maybe 2 out of this game. He needs 3. He needs 2.5 to tie the record. He needs 3 to break the record. And I think he gets 2 this game. But again, Shedeur, if he can protect the ball, don't run back. He's been doing better with that. He had one egregious interception that he just threw up. But I've studied the film. He's doing so much better, man. Than what his draft status was and what everyone has said. I mean, he's showing you quietly. He's not talking a lot of noise. He's not doing anything. He might raise his arm up here and there to show you to watch. And what's showing respect, a lot of defenses are respecting him because they do it themselves if they either get a sack on him or an interception. To me, that's a sign of respect when a defense does that to you. But I think
is it though?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
No. Usually, I play defense. I don't. Nope.
Because you want to get that guy because at the same time, him and Justin Simmons Justin Simmons shook hands at the end of the game against the Titans. I just think yes, there is a high level of respect for the player because I think the biggest thing is that. No, it's not disrespect because at the end of the day, they're all at the end shaking hands and they're giving him his due because of how he was drafted, all the ordeal he's going through with that organization and how he's looking now. So I think it's a major sign of respect. But with that said, I got them upsetting the Bears in a very tightly contested game.
But I think it's pretty pathetic, James, that you and you could see that he shouldn't have fallen to the 5th round. I mean, by the 3rd round, someone should have grabbed him. Okay, if no one wanted him in the 1st round, fine. By the 2nd round, he should have gotten drafted. Absolutely by the 3rd round. And him lasting to the 5th round, I think this is an indictment of a lot of the GMs. And if some of these GMs are having serious quarterback issues and their team isn't doing well, and they had a chance to draft Shedeur Sanders earlier, that's kind of fireable offense in part. An inability to have this talent right in front of you, and you decide you don't want to take him for whatever reason. And we can even see it's obvious to us he should have gone, much earlier.
Especially from a marketing standpoint. You're not only getting a player that can play, but you're getting merchandise selling through the roof. His jersey is probably like number 1, number 2, or something like that.
James, if Jimmy Haslett, the owner, didn't step in, and we know he stepped in and he told the GM and coach to take Shedeur Sanders, they were the 2 unhappiest guys in the world at that mic trying to explain why they took him. There was no joy there. It was forced on him. There's a possibility, as crazy as it is, he would have been undrafted. It's crazy. And also, Quinn Ewers went in the 7th round, so it's not only Shedeur Sanders, his personality. And Quinn Ewers is yet to be given an opportunity to really prove himself because, Tua is there and that's understandable too. He should be starting. But you just kind of wonder with some of these draft selections. I mean, it's crazy. We mentioned Tom Brady before, 6th round. You knew him well, Brian. I mean, watching him at Michigan, he shouldn't have lasted until the 6th round.
Well, I mean, his situation was different in college. He was sharing his time between two different quarterbacks. It's like
Drew
when
Henson,
Drew Henson
yeah.
was the guy. Drew Henson was the guy. He was the one that was supposed to go. In fact, I think he did go high up in the draft too. As a matter of fact, higher than Brady. I'll put you that way. He didn't go number one. I think he went like
3rd round, I believe.
Third round, yeah, I think it was the 3rd round. But I mean, and that's just a whole different situation. And wherever Shedeur got drafted, it is what it is. We're past that point now. I think everybody on this panel agreed that he was going to be starting near the end of the year anyway. So he's right where he needs to be at. Unfortunately, I can't go with Cleveland on this one because Stefanski doesn't want to win any games. He basically is out there throwing games for the team. You're putting 2-point conversion out there.
Wait. No, get out of here. Brian, he's not tanking games deliberately to lose and get out of here. You know,
Dude.
Do you think
So why did he put Shedeur Sanders in a 2-point play conversion? The best players you got on the field. How come he didn't put them in there?
Shedeur Sanders is still a rookie who's only had a few games.
I'm not believing any of that, Jack. I'm sorry. The guy is already putting himself out there to get fired. He said, I'm calling the plays. I did this. This is my fault.
So wait. The only thing I could think of that would back up what you said, if Kevin Stefanski, I don't know what his contract says, whether he has 2 years left and he could collect his money and never wants to coach again and can live comfortably, or just throw caution to the wind and the heck with it. You know, he ran a play. He got a little fancy. We see coaches doing that. Why did Pete Carroll throw the ball in the Super Bowl with Russell Wilson? They outsmart themselves at times.
They're playing the Titans, and they lost. I mean, this is the fact of this. This is the reason why. Well, this is one of the reasons why I'm picking the Bears to win this game. One of the reasons is Cleveland is a good team if it's not getting in Stefanski's way. Stefanski clearly does not like Sanders. He might talk a good game on a post, but he does not like Sanders. So that's not his quarterback. His quarterback is the 2nd string quarterback right now, Gabriel. So, I mean, at that fact, he's not really trying to hide this whole situation well. He's not hiding his disdain for Cleveland right now too well either. I don't think he wants to coach for Cleveland anymore. But you know, Shedeur could have outlandish stats. He can have like a 500-yard passing day, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions, and run for 1, and still lose because Stefanski will put him in that position. Somewhere, one little point might make a difference.
Stefanski announced, and I don't know, I'd like to get James' take on this, that Sanders is going to be his quarterback the rest of the year. So if Sanders was terrible today, let's say through 4 interceptions, Stefanski doesn't give himself the opportunity to go back to Dylan Gabriel next week and say, listen, we want to take a look at Dylan. Shedeur's had a chance. He's committed the rest of the way. Maybe that's coming down from the owner. Maybe it's coming from the owner. And maybe Stefanski does want to come back. So he's listening to the owner. Maybe Jimmy Haslam is telling him, you're my coach next year, but I'd like you to do this and that. And he's swallowing his pride, Stefanski, figuring, okay, he's the owner. I'll go along with them. I'll do this. Even though I'm not enthusiastic, I'll make the best of the situation. So maybe your read on it is wrong. Maybe it's not. Maybe my read on it is wrong.
Well, one thing I'm going to say.
Go ahead.
Well, go ahead,
James. Sorry about that.
One thing I'm going to say about Stefanski is that what people want to get rid of him. People want to say he should be fired. And this guy was 2-time coach of the year in the NFL with Cleveland, and he went to Penn, so he's not stupid. He's a very bright, offensive-minded type of coach. And I think sometimes that can get in your way because sometimes your ego can say that you can do things that, you know, you're trying to outwin. You're playing chess. You're trying to you're trying to beat the opposition. And I think in this situation, with regarding the 2-point conversion, I at first I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you take this guy out? He's winning the game. He's on a roll in the fourth quarter. You got to keep put the ball, win, lose, or draw in his hands to allow him to play. But I can see when I saw the all 22, you see the play, and you can see how it would work. And they tried to explain themselves how it should work. The running back, you put the ball in the rookie running back's hands, and he forgets to give the ball off. But I think Stefanski obviously may have gotten down, like what Jack said from Haslam, that he wants Shedeur Sanders to play the rest of the way. And let's just say from a business standpoint, it makes sense. They have nothing to play for. They're 3-10. There's no playoff hopes. You want to see what you got in the room, and you want to see what Shedeur can do the rest of the way. You allow Dillon Gabriel to play a majority of the first few games. Now it's time to see what Shedeur can do, and to see if you need to draft a quarterback next year, or if one of these guys are going to compete for the job next year to be the starting quarterback. And with Deshaun Watson still in the mix as well.
I just want to close the book on that 2-point conversion attempt. Why did they go for 2 points? They're playing at home against the Titans. Kick the extra point, let it go into overtime. You have a little better team than them, and take your chances in overtime. If you're playing a much better team than you go for the win right there. You don't want to risk anything in overtime. No one asks that. I mean, but whatever. It's past.
Yeah, because it wasn't the first 2-point conversion they went for. That was the first one. They went twice. They shouldn't have went for the first one.
Won the game. Yeah, you're right. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, like I said, I just think that even with Shedeur Sanders having a pretty good game, which I think he'll have against Chicago's defense, because I'm not really confident in Chicago's defense either. Even with that being said, let's not forget Chicago's Bears offense has gotten a lot better since the start of the season. I mean, a lot better. It's to the point right now where Ben trusts them to run certain plays that he ran at Detroit, because I see a lot of those plays being run right now, that the same plays were being run in Detroit. Not at the clip that Detroit was being successful at. They do have some failure points, but that's just on the personnel and starting to learn that kind of stuff and implement it to the system. But they are getting a lot better offensively, and they're still in the top 5, for points scored and offense all over, for the whole league. So and that's the only reason why I got Chicago in this one. I don't think it's a 7.5 point good. I think they're going to win this game. It's going to be close. And I do think I do agree with you, James. I think Garrett's going to get his 2 sacks today. He's going to get 2 sacks today. And Cleveland is a good team. If they get better offensive continuity, they'll be a better team next year. They need better play calling. They need better players on their offense. To go with the few weapons that they have right now. They'll be fine next year. This year, though, I'm just not seeing it. So I do have Chicago. Next game on the slate is the Baltimore Ravens going to Cincinnati. Baltimore is favored by 2.5, surprisingly enough. Who you got there, Jack?
I'll tell you, it hurts because I picked the Ravens to win the Super Bowl, but I think they're losing this game. I mean, Lamar Jackson isn't well. He's hurt. And unless Lamar Jackson is all of a sudden himself and they can flip the switch, they lost to the Steelers, should have won that game. I mean, something's off with Baltimore. Cincinnati, in turn, should have maybe beaten Buffalo. I think Cincinnati always makes a late rush, and I don't think they're out of it. They got to run the table. It's a cliche, and I think they, in Cincinnati, they beat the Ravens, and they do it by a couple of touchdowns today.
Who you got, James?
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite way. I think this is like the same situation with the Chiefs. Their backs against the wall. Lamar looks a little bit better, even though he was gimpy for a while. But I think if he's a lot better with his running ability, they're going to go there again. Their backs against the wall. They're going to go there because they're in desperation mode right here. If they don't win this game, they're done. And because they're one game behind the Steelers. They're one game behind, and if the Steelers, if Lamar and the Ravens lose this game, the Steelers wins in Week 17 versus the Browns, they win the tiebreaker and they win the division. So they really got to win. So I got the Ravens winning this game in a close one.
Yeah, this is a hard game to really kind of gauge because the first meeting between these two teams, Cincinnati just dominated them. The defense came to play. Burrow was being Burrow. And you're right, Burrow, I believe, was the guy that was a catalyst in losing. Every quarterback has a bad game to a point. And I think that was one of the Burrow's throwaway games, I would say, against Buffalo. Two bad drives in a row cost them that game. Since they don't win this game, they will be eliminated. So they got their backs against the wall, too. They still got that hope. They're still up there. They got hope, as Jack said. Baltimore also has their backs against the wall because they sure don't want to be losing this division to Pittsburgh. They need to get ahead of Pittsburgh. So it's going to be a nice little game. The question of this game is Lamar Jackson. Is his ankle good enough for him to win this game? Because that's the catalyst here. That dude's got to make some plays. He does have to make plays on his own for this team to win. And if his ankle is fine, I can see them winning this game and getting back at Cincinnati for that blowout loss that they had. Being it's in Cincinnati too, that's not a good thing for the Ravens either. I think I'll pick the Ravens to get it done just because I think they need it more. I think Cincinnati is just like they're trying to win. They're not out of it yet. They're trying to win, but they're just they're there. And Higgins is not playing. So, and he's been having concussions all this season. So I don't know if that was a good idea. Hindsight is 20/20, obviously. You pay him all that money, and he's missed like 3 games. I think this will be his 4th game, actually, he missed for a concussion. So, but I got the Ravens winning this game, and probably by a field goal, or it'll be like a 29-28 game or something like that. We'll see what happens there. Next game that we have, I think get to the right thing here. Okay, the next game we have is Arizona going against the Houston Texans in Houston. Who you got, Jack?
Yeah, that's an easy game to pick. The Texans are going to win. I mean, the way Arizona's played this year, big major disappointment. Got nothing to play for. I can't imagine Jacoby Brissett going in there and leading the Arizona offense, getting much points against Houston. I think Houston is going to it's going to be a bit, I don't want to use the term laugh up, but something like 31-7. I don't see Arizona mounting much of an offense.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Texans. There's no big story here. I think the biggest story is probably going to be in the offseason and whether or not Kyler Murray is going to be on the team or not for the Cardinals. Yeah, I just can't see them going into Houston and going up against that defense and pulling an upset. I just think that I'm with you. It's a laugher. I'm going to go with the Texans as well.
And this is a funny game because, the season is 17 games long. And at the beginning of the season, when you saw this on the schedule, you would think the Cardinals would have done something because, me and Jack were like on that Cardinals train there for a minute. And they just been playing horribly. And you didn't think Houston was going to do too much because they lost half their offensive line. Nobody was giving their defense any credit. But lo and behold, they've been beating the crap out of everybody. Well, not beating the crap out of everybody, but winning games they shouldn't be winning. And they're playing. They're second in their division right now. I'm even going forward to say that Houston can win this division. They can win this division. Because I think Jacksonville's going to slip up somewhere. I don't think Jacksonville is the team people think they are. They're going to come up there and they're going to slip up somewhere. And I think Houston's going to take this division. But yeah, they're going to win this one. I'm surprised they got them at 9.5, especially in in Houston. So that'll be. I think it goes over. Actually, I think Arizona's just lost right now.
Yeah, Houston's going to punch those guys in their snot lockers. A lot of them.
Yeah. We got next game. We got your team there, Jack. The Jets. They're taking on those Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. Jacksonville is favored by 11.5. Who you got there, Jack?
Yeah, the over and under. I mean, the odds are pretty good, about 11.5, because the Jets were an embarrassment last week, and Aaron Glenn put the blame squarely on himself. He apologized. He's going to have the team more ready. He promised this week. And I think the Jets are going to come up with a really good defensive effort to be competitive. They're not going to beat Jacksonville, but I don't think they're getting blown out. I think they're going to limit how much Jacksonville scores on them and make some big plays on defense. Or Brady Cook, how much offense can they really generate? I mean, but I think when all's said and done, Jacksonville will win something like 24-13. I think the Jets could, maybe make a big play on defense. I'm just speculating or guessing. And I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think Aaron Glenn does have him playing hard. The team does have some pride. Not that Aaron Glenn's done a good job this year, because he hasn't, okay? But I do think the players haven't quit on him. I don't think that's the case. And we'll find out today whether they've quit on him. Because if the Jets lose badly, if they lose 35-3, that means they have quit on him. But I don't think that'll be the case. Jacksonville by something like 24-13. And, that's going to be the final score.
So the big question is not, can a undrafted or UDFA and Brady Cook mount an upset here against Jacksonville? The biggest question is probably going to be, can the 2026 draft get here soon enough for the Jets? Because they've been through the ringer with quarterbacks, questioning whether or not your coaching hire was the right hire. It's just going to be a situation where you did some great things with the trades that you have. Hopefully you can do some great things with those picks that you've accumulated. And I don't see much in Brady Cook in this situation, especially going against the Jags. I just think the Jags are going to win this game. Yeah.
Brady Cook won't be on the team next year. Brady Cook's not a good quarterback. I mean, he was thrown in over his head. Aaron Glenn should be the coach next year, but I'm not believing long term. Part of it is attitude. If Aaron Glenn's attitude is, I'm okay with Tyrod Taylor being my starter next year, then I'm maybe looking for another coach. Then he's beyond hope, I think, if that's the case. But they got to address the quarterback situation. Kyler Murray would be on my radar. I might give a couple number ones for, Kyler Murray. It's a bold move, but I might go there with that. It's not that gutsy move, but I might do that. A couple, they have 2 number ones this year, 3 number ones next year. I might give a number 1 this year and a number 1 next year for Kyler Murray.
I would not be giving up number 1.
Jack, with that on your resume as a GM, if you did that, I think you'd be GMing for the Winn-Dixie Generals.
We haven't seen the best of Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray has upside. He has a lot of upside. He's just got to get
upside of like what? When it's not Call of Duty season?
No, a lot of talent. He can play. Kyler Murray can play. I mean, we're not talking about like a long shot thing. He was a franchise player. Got injured this year. He's had some good moments, Kyler Murray.
You need more than good moments at this juncture, Jack.
But he also needs a good offensive coordinator. When he was with Arizona and Kingsbury was there, he played very well. He did play very well. But that's because of the offensive play calling. If you don't have an offensive coordinator,
you get the right offensive coordinator.
Yeah, you got to get that before you get a quarterback anyway. Because I don't think that what's his name, Istron. I don't even know why they got him as an offensive coordinator. He was only a passing coordinator with the Lions. So unless he was fantastic, I don't know what the heck. I just don't know why he picked him as an offensive coordinator. But that's Aaron Glenn. But to your point about Aaron Glenn, I don't think he's coached bad, because the Jets have like maybe a couple of games where they didn't compete well in the games. But then you got to look at the game after when they competed. They played well. And they're 3-10. Okay, so right now, so the Lions were 3-13-1 when they finished their season with Dan Campbell as a coach, and Aaron Glenn is just a copycat of Dan Glenn.
I know.
Dan
Watched the
Campbell.
game. I've watched the
I'm just
games. There've been questionable moves with Aaron Glenn, and just this overall.
He's got to call what he's
judgment
got. He's got to play with what he's got to play with. I mean, he's not going to say he's going to get whatever quarterback to play as long as the front office gives him something to work with. If he gets something to work with, and this is what I'm talking about when he got these number one draft picks. Your front office has to do their job in scouting and get good players for that, because you can have 20 number one picks, but only if 2 of them succeed, what's the point? So you got to have a good front office to do that. And I'm that's where I'm just about the Jets at in that point. I believed in Brad Holmes here, but I can't believe in that GM. I don't know if he's going to make good choices as far as draft picks are concerned. But Aaron Glenn's going to use whatever he has there, whoever he has there, to win and compete. And I don't think that the players will quit on him, because he's given them a vision. And
we've got a few more games, Brian. We got to get to cover. Yes, still.
Yeah. So I don't understand why people are going to giving him the digs. I mean, he's doing what he can with what he's got. All right. The next game we have is at it's Tennessee Titans at the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers are favored by 12.5. Jack, who you got?
I mean, 49ers are better, so they should win. Is Cam Ward really going to go to San Francisco and beat the 49ers with all that's at stake with the Niners? We talk about that division, and we keep talking about the Rams and Seahawks. I think, the 49ers are slipping under the radar a bit. No one talks about them as being any type of Super Bowl contender. And they've been a perennial contender before last year for a few years. Maybe they surprise us. I don't think so, but they're just too good for Tennessee. Something like 30-12, 49ers. I'll pick them in this one.
And this is what brings to my point, what we were saying about the Eagles earlier in the coaching. Coaching matters, because this team, they were decimated by injury. They didn't have all their players. And they're finding ways to win with what they have, in spite of the injuries. And these guys are getting healthier now. I mean, and you got guys that aren't coming back, like Bosa, and some of the other guys that are, Ayuk. These are were key players on their team that that you need to win championships or contend at least. And they're still doing it. They're 9-4. They're 9-4, and I just think they're going to be 10-4 after this game. I mean, clearly it's the Titans. Like you said, I don't see Cam Ward going in. He's probably got the mindset of wanting to win, but he don't have enough talent around him to go there and do that. I just think that, and no coaching as well. So 49ers are going to win this game at home.
Yeah, 49ers going to win this game hands down. Titans do come to play though. They are still playing pretty well. They're losing, but that's just because of the talent factor that they have. San Francisco is going to pull this out, though. I think 12.5. I think is even with the Titans is a little bit steep to me. I think they can beat them by the 10 points, but 12 is a little bit high. So I got San Francisco win that game. Next game is the Carolina Panthers taking on James's New Orleans Saints. Who you got, Jack?
With all that's at stake for the Panthers, you would think they'll go into New Orleans and win the game, but the Saints seem to be playing with enthusiasm. So it doesn't matter whether there's anything at stake if a team is playing really hard and with a lot of enthusiasm. And they have to be a little happy in New Orleans. It seems like you have your quarterback down there now. You don't have to draft a quarterback. So it seems to be, working out. There seems to be a good attitude. So I look for a close game. I mean, and the Panthers have struggled against New Orleans traditionally. They've had Bryce Young in particular struggled. But I got to feel with all that's at stake, that that the Panthers have to be lifted with Tampa Bay struggles. That the Panthers do win this game, close game, 21-16, thereabouts.
So I think it's like you said, it's a divisional game. The Panthers and the Saints. As a matter of fact, the Panthers have is kind of evenly matched in regards to the record, in regards to them playing against each other. But the Saints, Tyler Shuck has shown some things that he can be a potential franchise quarterback. I mean, the jury's still out. He's a second round, 40th overall pick, and he played well against Carolina when he played them first. He started against and they won 17-7. I think they're going to be a little bit more ready for him this time. Even if it is in New Orleans, I don't think there's not much of a home field advantage there. It hadn't been all year. With that said, I like Shuck and the Saints. The rookie class has shown some things. Devin Neal, the sixth round draft pick for the running back, showed some really good things against Tampa Bay. Kamara's still out, and so, but I like Devin Neal to still do some really good things, and I like Devon Vele, the trade that he got out of the Broncos. We gave up a fourth round draft pick. He's playing really good ball as well now, and so that gives Chris Olave more room to play. As you know, his speed, he's not getting doubled. So I think they got an opportunity to win at home here with an upset. I know Carolina's doing well. They're trying to take the division, put a stronghold on it, and they can if they get this win. But I like the Saints in an upset here, in a very close game.
Yeah, I'm now. The Carolina Panthers are favored by 2.5, which tells me two things: that this is a division game. It seems like that division's always picking each other off at certain points of this season. So, and it really has nothing to do with record. Doesn't have nothing to do who has, like Jack doesn't like to say, momentum and none of that stuff. And none of that stuff. Any of these games can be over, like Atlanta getting blown out by Carolina in their first game that they played, and everybody expected so much from Atlanta. So, I mean, Carolina is a good team. I'm only picking them because they can possibly, have the division lead by the end of this game. But like I said in Friday's show with our friend Sonia, who was a Panther fan, I said that this game could go either way. New Orleans is playing some pretty good ball. The record doesn't always dictate all that, but they are playing really good. They're in most of these games that they're playing. And it's a division game. So anything could happen. I can see a 3-point game swing between these two. I mean, I'm going to take the Panthers, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints won. Next game that we got here is Minnesota at Dallas. Dallas is 6-point favorite. What you got, Jack?
Yeah, Minnesota had a bit of a reprieve with J.J. McCarthy. He played really, really well when they shut out Washington 31-0. But, I mean, McCarthy's not a terrible quarterback. I mean, you throw him in game after game, he's going to have some really good games. I just don't think he's a starting NFL caliber quarterback or franchise quarterback for a team. But he can perform on given games like he did against a weak Washington Commander team. Not that the Cowboys have a great defense, but going into Dallas, can J.J. McCarthy lead the Vikings to a victory? Possibly. But I think the Cowboys are looking to rebound, losing that game to the Lions after, beating the Eagles and the Chiefs. It's at Dallas. It's on a Sunday night, which is the biggest showcase game right up Jerry Jones's alley, the whole Cowboy organization's alley. I think the Cowboys win. J.J. McCarthy might play well. I have a feeling he's going to be decent, but Dallas wins something like 28-20.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dallas as well. I think even though there might be a bit of controversy, some issues between Diggs, the cornerback, and then the brass. I don't know what's going on there, but Diggs hadn't been playing anyway, so it's not like they needed him. But offensively, Dallas is still clicking on all cylinders, and I just think that they're going to have a little more juice at home. So I think they win a close game, maybe like 24-21.
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota's defense, they're okay. They still don't have a back end. It's basically like playing the Lions all over again. But I think the difference between the defenses between the Lions and Minnesota is that Detroit defensive line took to the offensive line of Dallas, and they took it to him. I don't think Guyton's back this week. So whoever's on that edge starting, they need to protect it better, because that's where 3 sacks came in from Muhammad from the Lions. So it's got to be, they got to shore up that, because Dak didn't have hardly any time back there. He was getting rushed on a lot of passes. The running game didn't do very well. So if they shore that up, I mean, regardless, I think Dallas is going to win. I mean, they beat Minnesota. They beat the Commanders. I mean, come on. But you got to remember, the week before that, they got shut out too. So, I mean, Minnesota's just and Dallas is playing pretty good. Their offense is still pretty potent. I'm taking Dallas in that game. Okay. And I forgot about this game. The Lions at the Rams. Lions need this game to win, to keep going, to get in it, because they're out on the outside looking in. The Rams are trying to win this game so they can keep themselves ahead of Seattle. Who you got, Jack?
I mean, they both need the game. We're hearing that each week with teams, and I use the term as well. Granted, they need the game. They need the game. They need the game. I mean, everyone needs their games, just about, who have playoff possibilities. Rams, no one's thinking of the Rams falling out of the playoff picture. We talk about whether they'll win their division, but the Lions are barely hanging in there for playoff berth right now. But of course, things can open up. If the Packers lose to Denver and the Bears lose to Cleveland and the Lions win, all of a sudden the Lions are thinking, we can win this division. We can leapfrog over both of these teams, but is it likely to happen at this point? No. It comes down to who you think's a better team, the Rams or the Lions. And I know the Lions individually, if you point to their pieces, you can make an argument that they're a little more talented all around. But I like the Rams here to win this game. I mean, I think the Rams are more of a Super Bowl contender at this point than the Lions. So I'm not saying the Lions window is closed to go to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that at all. I think the Rams just look a little more solid overall. And I'll go with the Rams to win a close game. I like to throw scores out for the heck of it. Say 29-24 Rams. Stafford leads the Rams on a late touchdown drive to win the game.
I think both these teams are obviously vying for playoff spots. But I mean, one's vying to get into the playoffs, and the other is looking to get top position. And so with that said, they can't let up. I think the Rams, unfortunately for the Lions, are going to win this game because, one, they probably overlooked Carolina last week and didn't realize that, that how decent Carolina really is of that much of a good team. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to overlook the Lions. I think that they're going to understand the Lions' backs are against the wall and the Lions need this win. But the Rams at home are trying to get that bye. And I just think it's going to be a little bit too much for the Lions, even though, like Jack said, individually, they're probably a lot more talented with the Lions.
49ers.
But yeah, of course. Yes. But I got the Rams winning this game.
Well, I'm not going to go against my team, even though even if it's against a Goliath of any team in the NFL. But I mean, the Rams are playing really good. Stafford's playing at MVP level. I'm glad that we got the Rams after they won. They pasted the Cardinals, so that was a good thing. Because if we got them like after that Carolina game, I'd be a lot more afraid of this game because they would be mad, pissed coming off that game after a loss. But right now, the Lions don't have two of their safeties for the rest of it. Well, Kirby's not playing, and and I think they're putting Kirby on IR. Brian Branch is out for the rest of the season. That's bad. You got two your starting safeties, who basically are the captains of your defense in the backfield. They're gone right now, and you're putting Darren Maddox and some other dude out there. One of the the plumbers or the mechanics that they picked up off the street, and then your corners are okay. Arnold won't be playing this game either. And that's going to be key in this game because they really got to stop Stafford. Stafford is a surgeon out there when he needs to be. And they got to get pressure on him. That's any quarterback on any given Sunday. But they really do got to get pressure on him. Aiden Hutchinson needs to step up a little bit more and tell us why he's got, show us why he's got that contract extension that he got. And Muhammad needs to step in there and stop taking weeks off at a time and coming in and getting 3 sacks. Don't get sacks for 4 games and come in and get 3 sacks again. He needs to show up. The defense in general needs to show up in this game, mostly the front 7, to even have a chance to win this game. Now, why I'm saying that, I do have the Lions winning by about 3 points. But the Rams are obviously the favorite in this game. And it's they have a good defense. The only thing that prevents them from being
got one more game.
Great.
One more game.
Yeah. One more game prevents them from
Frank, save your home game with the Lions earlier when there's time to talk. I know that's
I missed it, Jack. Unfortunately, I'm a human being too. Anyway, the Monday night game is Miami Dolphins at the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You're handing off when you should be passing.
Miami Dolphins at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who you got, Jack?
Quickly, I don't know, but I'll pick the Steelers. Cold weather game for the Dolphins. Great job by Mike McDaniel to get his team to the point at this point in the season, winning the last 4. I reluctantly am picking the Steelers to win 20-16, thinking the cold weather is going to affect Miami.
I think this is going to be an upset. I think the Dolphins are going to win this game because right now they're 4-1 in the last 5 games, including a 30-13 win against the Bills. They're red hot right now. So 3 straight games. I think they go in the Steelers and give this team a run for their money and steal a win. The Dolphins have an opportunity to get into the playoffs.
They're going to steal a win from the Steelers. I love it.
Yes.
Well, I got the Steelers because it's going to be 21 degrees there. Now, the last game that they played was 40. So, I mean, that's not cold by northern standards, okay? That's a nice warm day. So 21 degrees is a whole lot different. So I that's the only reason why I'm picking the Steelers, because it's going to be a cold day. I just don't see Miami's okay. They're doing very good, but yeah.
There's no talk of firing Mike McDaniels now. They played hard for him, and I think it's a lesson for everyone. We don't know what's going on inside the locker room, and we always tend to speculate. And Mike McDaniels apparently never lost the team. I mean, the guys always seem to like him. And we were talking about Cleveland before, Kevin Stefanski. We don't know what's going on inside the locker room. We're really behind the scenes. We speculate that the owner's saying this, and he's deliberately doing that. I think it might come out over time what's going on, but we really don't know in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I mean that's what we do on here, is we speculate anyway. Go ahead, James.
There is one side note outside of the NFL, the NBA, the play-in. The San Antonio Spurs beat the Oklahoma City Thunder to give them their second loss. Their second loss. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
I still think that.
I know we're a Sunday football show for now, with the NFL, but we haven't really, and college football. But I can understand, there's a lot going on, in sports, where sometimes it does merit talking a little about it on this show. If there's a mega boxing match, Canelo Alvarez, Terrence Crawford, it's worth a mention. NBA Finals Cup is nonsense. Finals Cup doesn't mean anything, but the NBA Championship would be worth talking about.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate it.
Right. On that note, from our producer, Jack Hirsch. Anyway, we are going to bid you adieu. Y'all have a really good rest of your Sunday. Catch Jack and Keith on the Weekend Playbook at 8 a.m. tomorrow, and at 7 o'clock p.m. catch Jack and Frank for Glove Fists. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Peace.